Now it's time for today's perspective, and a court in Greenland has again extended the time in custody for the prominent anti-whaling activist Paul Watson as Denmark considers an extradition request from Japan. The court ruled that the Canadian-American must remain in detention until October the 2nd, while Denmark's Justice Ministry considers that request. Greenland is an autonomous territory of Denmark, which doesn't have an extradition treaty with Japan. Now, yesterday, here in Paris, hundreds of people gathered to support Watson, who's the founder of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society, whose high seas confrontations with whaling vessels have drawn widespread attention. He was arrested, in fact, back in July, on the 21st, in fact, when his ship docked in Greenland's capital. Japan's Coast Guard seeking his arrest over an encounter with a Japanese whaling research ship right back in 2010, when he was accused of obstructing the crew's official duties by ordering the captain of the ship to throw explosives. He faces up to 15 years in prison. Well, joining us now is the president of Sea Shepherd France, Lamya Essemlali. She joins us, in fact, from Nuuk, where Paul Watson is still in prison. Thanks very much for being with us on the programme today. Good to have you with us. So yesterday we had this extension of his time, at least for now, in jail. What's your reaction to that, first of all?
Well, we were unfortunately expecting that to happen because we were worried that the judge would keep on refusing to watch the evidence that would innocent Paul Watson. We do have a footage that shows that there was no one standing on the deck when Pete Bitude threw the stick bomb, but the judge is refusing to watch this. So it's very puzzling. Why he wouldn't watch the evidence that would innocent him. So we were expecting that to happen. We are still very obviously disappointed and outraged. This doesn't feel like justice at all. It feels like, well, Japan is seeking their revenge, and it looks like Denmark and Greenland are willing to give it to them.
Do you know why he's refusing to watch it?
Well, it doesn't make any sense. He just says that he's not the one who's going to rule about the extradition. This is for the Minister of Justice, but he is the one who is supposed to rule on whether Paul is kept in jail or if he can be freed until the minister takes his decision. And to decide on his maintain in custody, well, he has to look at the evidence, and he refuses to look at the evidence. He accepted to watch the footage provided by the Japanese side, where you see our small boats throwing the stick bomb, but you don't see where it lands. So to have the whole picture, he has to watch the video shoot from our side, which is the exact same scene, just shoot from the other side. That shows what matters, which means that that stick bomb didn't hit anyone because there was no one on deck.
Looking at the wider picture, as you just said there, I mean, is there no justification at all, do you think, for Paul Watson's detention here? I mean, the organisation is known, isn't it, for impeding the working fishing vessels. Critics say you're eco-terrorists.
I would say that the only eco-terrorist in this story is Japan, that has been illegally killing thousands of whales in an Antarctica sanctuary in violation of the global moratorium on whaling. The only ones who have been condemned in this whole thing is Japan, condemned by the highest court of justice in La Hague in 2014, condemned by the IWC, the International Whaling Commission, condemned by the Australian Federal Court of Justice in 2015 for illegal whaling. I mean, Japan is an eco-terrorist state when it comes to the whales. So we are enforcing the law. I think that what is really shocking and outraging is that we have to do it. We have to do it because the governments who signed the global moratorium, who signed on the international sanctuary, are not enforcing the law themselves. They have the responsibility to do it. We have to save the whales if we want to save the ocean. If we don't save the ocean, we don't save ourselves and we don't save our children. So what Paul has been doing, he's been doing it for the whales, but for the rest of the world, for the whole humanity and future generations. And it's outraging and unfair that he's being punished for doing it.
What's being done then to try and get him out? And how much do you fear his extradition? What do you think could happen to him if he is sent to Japan?
Well, if he's sent to Japan, it's a death penalty. I mean, Japan has a judicial system that is medieval, like for middle-aged. They have what we call the hostage justice, meaning that you don't go on trial until you make a confession of being guilty. And to get that confession, they would go through things that we would define as torture, right? Japan has been condemned by the European Court of Human Rights. there are reports from Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch on the way Japan is treating their prisoners. They have 99.5% rate of conviction. I mean, because obviously you don't go on trial until you have made a confession. So this is a farce. This is a parody of justice in Japan. So I cannot imagine how a country like Denmark from the EU that has a decent judicial system could accept to send someone to Japan, especially on completely fabricated evidence. And again, something that we can prove, but we are not allowed to prove. So obviously, this has nothing to do with justice. This is highly political. The only fact that Interpol accepted to put Paul on the red notice on the base of that bogus warrant that has been issued on those fabricated evidence is very concerning. And what concerns me also, beyond Paul Watson, who has at least that chance to be famous, to have a lot of public support, media attention. What can happen to those whistleblowers and activists who are completely unknown? I mean, they can be just crushed down by this fake justice and disappear in jails and be killed without anyone knowing about it. This is really concerning. So I think this is bringing the spotlights on Japanese whaling, which is very good because we haven't spoken about Japanese whaling as much as this since a long time, but also on the treatments on whistleblowers and how we can protect those people who put their life and their freedom on the line.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more. Sorry to interrupt, but tell us a little bit more about the fate of the whale, because obviously that's what your organisation is targeting, is trying to do. What is the problem, if you like? What are the problems for the whales at the moment?
Well, obviously, whales have been slaughtered for hundreds of years, right, until the brink of extinction. So that's the reason why the IWC, International Whaling Commission, issued a global moratorium on whaling in order to save those species that are absolutely mandatory to the marine ecosystem, because whales are the farmers of the sea, right? I mean, I'm not going to do a biological course here, but without the whales, you don't have phytoplankton in the ocean. And without the phytoplankton, we don't have oxygen, and we don't have the huge climate change regulator that the ocean is. So we need the whales. There is no life on this planet without a living ocean, and there is no living ocean without whales.
Do the numbers then not need to be kept down in order to control fish stocks?
In order to control fish, what? Sorry?
Stocks, the number of fish.
Oh, well, we need to enforce the law. That's the main thing. We need to enforce the law. I mean, if there is a global moratorium on whaling, if there are sanctuaries, if there are species that are protected, well, it's for a good reason. Scientists came up to that, and politicians finally signed the treaties because we came up to the conclusion that if we don't do it, we're going to destroy the ocean. So now it's all about enforcing the law that already exists. And the problem is that there is no political will or economical will to do it. And when a country like Japan, that is a powerful economic country, goes to a sanctuary and illegally kill whales, there is no country that stands up against them because it's a commercial power, and they don't want to do it. So it's for the whole public opinion to stand up and say we want the law to be enforced because it's for our future generations. And we cannot have a rogue state like Japan behaving like an eco-terrorist and then targeting the people who are trying to hold them responsible for their actions. So let's enforce the law. Let's make it that the law are not just words on paper to make us feel good. They have to mean something.
Let's end by coming back to Paul. I was reading an interview with him yesterday that I think he did with AFP, where he was talking about the fact that he's able actually to carry out or continue his work while he's in prison in Nuuk. He said that he's basically changed his office from a ship to the prison cell. How is he able to do that, and how is he?
Well, Paul's objective by doing this campaign, when he was heading to the North Pacific to stop the Kangemaru, right? The Kangemaru is the biggest whaling factory ship ever built that was launched by Japan last May. And it's actually currently killing whales as we speak, right? And Paul wanted to bring the spotlight on that ship. He wanted the world to know what they are doing. And you know what? By arresting him, they helped him achieving exactly that. So he wanted to bring attention on whaling. So that's why he's saying that Nuuk now is his vessel. That's where he's carrying on his campaign. And how he's doing? Well, he misses his children very much. He has a 3 years old and a 7 years old that's going to turn 8 on September 28th, and he was hoping that he would be there for his birthday. He's not going to be. So that's the hardest part. But other than that, he's on a fighting spirit, and he knows he has a lot of support. And I'm really trying to make him feel that because he's isolated. So yeah, to let him know all the support he has.
Good to have you on the programme today. Thank you very much for talking to us today. President of Sea Shepherd France, Lamya Essemlali. Thanks very much for joining us there from Nuuk.
Thank you.